Welcome back to What's on the Rocks. This batch of rocks has been tumbling for a week now in the coarse grit, so it's the first tumble through. And we're about to turn this off and take a look. So here we have the first batch that came out. You can see the mixture has the slurry has thickened up quite a bit here. I have no idea what we're going to find inside of here, but hopefully we'll find some nice rounded rocks in here starting to take good shape. So we'll go ahead and dump these out and we'll rinse them off a little bit. So I just wanted to take a quick look at some of them right out of the barrel. Don't want them to dry up too much. I guess what happens if they dry up and there's still some grit and some cracks, it could dry up and kind of cement over. So tip that I've learned from other channels is to not let that happen. So I'm going to try to just take a quick look at these. So here, in this first batch, we had the Turritella agates. Some of them are smoothing over pretty nicely. You can already kind of see it's drying up a little bit. Focus in there. It doesn't have a lot of luster, but this one in particular smoothed out really nicely. But in contrast, you can take a look at this one. You can still see there's a lot of ridges on here, and I'm not really sure how much more I want to grind this one down. So I have to make a decision on whether this one's going to make it into the next batch of doing another week in the coarse grit. We have the Bahia Agates. These are looking pretty nice too. Really getting nice and rounded there. This one in particular, I'm not sure what to make of this one. It's it's definitely gotten smoother, but there's really nothing, no pattern, like an agate pattern showing on here. So I'll probably throw this in anyways for another week and see what happens to it. But this is probably the type of rock that you might want to split open, and there might be something more interesting inside if it was chiseled open. The Mexican lace agate, this one's looking really nice. I think these are going to polish up and look really spectacular at the end. They have really intricate patterns in them. And then we have the South Dakota prairie agates. These are already really small. I don't think I'm going to have any of these go in for another week. They'll probably just be a 1 week and done sort of thing, but I have plenty more to throw in there with the next batch. And then this is the mystery rock, which I'm beginning to think is a quartzite rock similar to Aventurine, but this is the one that we carried over from our last house, and yeah, I think it's going to look really nice. This one might also get another week, and there's some spots on here, a couple like little blemishes, which I'm not sure I can pick up. Kind of see there that I want to smooth out a little bit before we put a final polish on it. But yeah, that's the first barrel's contents. So now for the second batch. So the first batch, I couldn't remember which was which, but the first batch was definitely the batch where we had most of the agates in and that rock from our old home. So this batch is going to be the amethyst and the rose quartz and similar, the aventurine and ones like that. So let's go ahead and dump these out. You can see again the kind of consistency that it has. Let's dump this out and we'll clean them off. All right, and this is the second barrel through 1 week of coarse grinding. If you recall, this was more of the more translucent type of rocks that we put into this one. Kind of grouped them somewhat similarly between the barrels. But you can see these are turning out really nice. The Aventurine it's still, this one's still a little bit wet, of course, but it is getting pretty smooth all the way around, and all the aventurines are looking super nice, I think. The rose quartz, was already pretty shiny before we put it in there. Obviously, with the first grind, the goal is we're trying to get it to be smoothed all around uniformly, so they'll take a nice uniform shine. So I'll have a closer look at these just to see if they need another week or so in a tumbler. Then we have the Jaspers. Let's take a couple examples of these. Yeah, obviously these aren't translucent, but they're looking pretty nice as well. Nice banding on there, and they're getting nice and smooth all around as well. And then the final one we have is the Amethyst. So again, those were already pretty shiny when we put them in last week. Now they're just kind of getting rounded off. We had that one mystery rock that was in, I believe, at the Jaspers last week. I'm not a rock expert or a geologist. I venture to guess that this is not a jasper. It kind of looks similar to the Baja Agates, though, in the other batch. So maybe there's just a little bit of a rock that jumped out of one barrel into another one. But it's turning out really pretty, regardless, whatever it is. It looks nice. So that's the contents of barrel 2 after 1 week of tumbling in the coarse grit. So what I'm doing now is just looking at each rock one by one and evaluating whether or not I want to tumble it for another week in the coarse grind. So I have plenty of other raw rocks that need to be tumbled as well, so basically just looking to see if there's any, like, especially like deep grooves or anything that I feel like can get smoothed out a little bit more. I'll try to get this smoothed out a little bit in this crevice. I don't know how well it will go, but I'll put it back in for another week. Some of them that are very small, though, I'm not even bothering to put them in, even if they have small imperfections, because the more that you tumble them, the smaller they're going to get. So this one's probably borderline size, but it's got some spots here that I like to smooth over if possible. This one looks good. It's nice round all the way around. That one to the ready for next stage pile. So while I'm giving the machine a break, while I'm looking through the stones, I wanted to inspect it. I kind of took another look through the owner's manual at the maintenance and operation of the machine, just to make sure that doing everything I can as close to the manufacturer's instructions as possible. I've seen a lot of things about this particular tumbler where it's a little bit hit or miss, and so I mentioned this in the last video. I just wanted to make sure that I'm inspecting it often, just to make sure that it keeps running smoothly. So I've taken a look at the belt. So I've taken off the bottom cover. It's flipped over here, and you can see that the belt is right back here. And I'm supposed to be looking at this belt for any cracks or other types of wear that look abnormal. And for the most part, I've just seen some dust on the belt. So I'm pretty happy with it as it is. I don't think it needs to be tensioned any differently. It seems that it's just fine. So we'll just keep an eye on that next time we take a break. The other thing that I recommended, which I didn't do the first week, which probably should have done, but I didn't read about it until this week, is that it recommends that about once a month that you lubricate these bearings. So it listed these rods here, and the part description is the bearings that it's talking about putting some lubrication on. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit on. I don't have much. I actually pulled this out of a shaving kit that I had. I'm going to be sure to order some on Amazon, some mineral oil to use on this in the future. But that's all I have for now, but it should be sufficient. So I'm just going to add a couple of drops near the edges on each end. And hopefully that will aid with the wear and tear on the belt. Alright, so for the last thing today, we're going to refill these barrels with rocks and get them tumbling for another week. So we're going to do another week of the 6090, the very coarse grit. So we'll start with this barrel, which has the agates in there, the Turritella agates, Mexican lace, and the mystery stone. So that's all in there, but you can see it's kind of like halfway full, so there's plenty of room to add some more. So I'm going to add just a variety in here. Starting with some of the bigger ones first, since it seems like they tend to want to take a little bit longer. Okay, and then so that looks like it's pretty decently full. I do want to add in a little bit of these smaller stones here, because I think they will help to kind of fill in cracks between the rocks and help to grind them down. So I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit on the full side, but I don't think that looks terribly full. Maybe, I think we're going to take this one out just because it does look a little overfull. There we go. And replace that with a few more of the smaller ones. I think that'll be a good balance then. All right, and then that's what it's going to look like. Then same as last week, I'm going to add about a cup of water in here. A cup of water seemed to be good. The slurry was nice and liquidy throughout. That's about a half cup, a little bit more. Oh, there we go. So again, I can show you where the water level's coming up to. So it's just below where the stones are coming up to, the rocks. And then we're going to put our 6090 grit in. And again, 3 tablespoons. One, two, three. And finally, we're going to put the lid on this one. This one is ready to go for another week. Okay, so then we have the second barrel. So this is what it looks like with the ones that I decided to add back in. So again, this one is about halfway full, so we'll add in a few more to fill up the space. Let me start with a couple of larger ones. You can already see that it's going to take quite a long time, I think, to get through all of these. And then I'll add in a few of the prairie agates, the small ones that I got. I think that'll help with this batch as well. Get into the nooks and crannies. All right, I think that's about as full as I want to take it. And again, we're going to add in around a cup of water. Should mention too that I didn't film it, but I did clean these tumbler barrels out in between. I cleaned them out very well, in addition to washing all the rocks off. So It mentions this in the manufacturer instructions for the tumbler, but I think it's just a good idea in general to always clean everything in between uses. Clean everything out, make sure everything is nice and clean. I think even some people will go through the trouble of only using a specific grit in one of their barrels so they don't have any cross contamination. I don't have that much equipment yet to do that, but certainly I think that the cleaning in between tumbles is a great idea. So again, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of the 6090 coarse grit in here. And make sure we put the lid back on the grit. Alright, so this one is ready to go. It's not leaking out or anything. So, you put these both back on the tumbler, and they will go for another week, and we'll see you next week when we see what we have after 2 weeks of tumbling in the coarse grit.